Hey, welcome back to the Owner Operator Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Gray. In this episode, I'm hosting Luke Eggebraaten. Luke is the founder of Phaser Digital Marketing, where he specializes in helping excavation companies market their services. He's also a co-host on the Dirtbags podcast, where he and his business partner, Luke, talk all things excavation. So if you are in the excavation industry, go check out their podcast. It's the Dirtbags podcast. They're on Apple and Spotify. But I had so much fun hosting him on this episode because we just got to talk shop. We got to talk marketing. And if you're interested in learning more about marketing your service business, then stick around for this whole episode. I do think you'll enjoy it. Thanks for listening. And as always, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, would you mind to like and follow this podcast? If you're enjoying the episodes, you'll get notified whenever we drop new episodes. And then also, just like building a service-based business, 5-star reviews are super important for podcasts as well. So do you mind to just take 30 seconds and leave us a quick 5-star review? If you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel to get notified about this. And then comment what you like about this episode in the comments below. Let's jump into it. Real quick, wanted to share with you 2 agency partners who have helped me grow Bear Claw Land Services. Striker Digital manages all of our SEO services, and they've got us to #1 on Google for specific search terms within our local service business. Cedar Digital Consulting manages all of our social media and YouTube, and they make it very simple for owner operators like myself. All I have to do is go take photos and videos in the field, upload those on my phone to a shared iCloud album very quickly, and they handle everything else from there. They edit and they publish. I don't have to worry about it. I can focus on growing my business. So if you're looking for SEO services, check out Striker Digital. That's Striker, STRYKER -digital.com. And for social media, check out Cedar Digital Consulting. That's CEDAR digitalconsulting.com. Thanks for being on, Luke. I appreciate it.
Dude, absolutely. And thank you for having me on. I'm been binge listening to a few of your episodes and re-listened to the one you did with Ryan. And because funny enough, and I don't remember if I told you this, but the one you did with Ryan was one of the few that I had listened to of Skid Steer Nation. And because when you called me, your name sounded familiar. And then when I was listening to your story, I'm like, I feel like I've listened to your episode. And sure enough, I went back and I was like, dude, it is so impressive to hear your story and how you think of things. But I also just listened to the podcast you did. I think his name is Nick, the most recent one. And his brain too works very similarly to yours. And just how like people listening are probably like, man, these guys could start any business and feel like with the right foundation and systems in place, they'll make it work. And I think there's so much truth to that, where people complicate business and it's really not too complicated when you get down to it.
You're exactly right about that. And one thing I will add to that, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it. One thing I'm very confident in is like, give me any service, give me any market, and I will go start that business and I can get it to 500K, like hands down, no questions asked. I don't care what it is, where it is. One thing I will not claim to be able to do, because this is something that I'm challenging myself to sort of like level up as an entrepreneur, is what do you need to do after you hit that like 5 to 750K, you know, maybe for some people it's like $1 million, right? It's like you can get to like 500, 750K with like a small team and with a couple core people who you really trust. And if you delegate well, and if everybody has a clear cut set of responsibilities, what I won't claim to be great at is being able to take it from that step and replicate it, right? And so I do appreciate the kind words, but I've got a lot of work to do as an entrepreneur to be able to like grow our business in place. So I actually brought on this guy named John Wilson, and I don't know if you're on Twitter or X, but he is in the HVAC. He's in the HVAC, electrical. They do like septic work, I think, drain cleaning, something like that. But he's at like 23.5 million right now. And he bought his dad's business at like $1 million. And so he came on and sort of talked about the different phases of growth. And that one was really interesting to me because it was just like a masterclass on like what he learned from taking his from 1 million to 23.5 million and all the different levers you have to pull. And so that one's definitely worth listening, because I just shut up on that one and he just talked, and
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Dude, that's awesome. And what I love about that is when you surround yourself with people that have been there or are currently there. And I'm in a mastermind class where it's all digital marketing agency owners. And so we meet in Miami 3 times a year. And when I first joined, I joined 2 years ago. We were doing I'd just gone full time, and we were about $8,300 monthly recurring revenue. And to join this mastermind, you had to be doing 10K monthly recurring. And so I just kind of lied on my thing and said we were doing 10K. And I was like, I'll check it out. I came as a guest, and I was blown away, not by the content and the resources that they provided, but just by the people. And it was so cool because there's 300 of us there, and everyone owns an agency, and everyone like has their own niche. So it's digital marketing for lawyers, digital marketing for home service businesses, digital marketing for bowling alleys. I was like, this is crazy. But it was so cool because everyone was at a different place in their business. So we had people doing 50K a month, 30K a month, 150K, 350K a month, but everyone is kind of just like a normal person, and they all have their own quirks, and they all have their own strengths and weaknesses, and they all have family and friends and hobbies. And I was like, man, this is so cool, where you can surround yourself with other people who, a lot of them haven't changed or have changed for the better as they continue to grow. And yeah, just fast forward 2 years. Now we're 2 years into this thing, and I think this will be coming up this March will be my 7th trip to Miami, just getting to network and be around these type of people. But it's really helped us grow and really helped us put systems in place to make sure that we're growing at a controlled pace, but also make sure that we're delivering value to our clients. Because I think if you're losing clients, if you're losing 2 and gaining 3, you don't have a successful business. I think you're going to go down anyway.
Well, one thing you said to me early on in like our first conversation, just like on the phone, was you do and I may butcher it, but you said like, we do the simple things just uncommonly well, or something along those lines.
Yeah, we build them. We build great, just the marketing basics. Like, we handle those very well for a very specific industry.
That's right. Cool. Dude, this is why I love bringing on other people who podcast, because I love keeping it raw and real. Like, I've already hit the record button, so we're just going to keep it rolling here. But why don't you just introduce yourself for our listeners? Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what business you run.
Yeah, so my name's Luke Eggebraaten, very Norwegian last name. But my wife and I were born up north in Minnesota, about 30 minutes apart. We moved down to Nebraska for a few years, and then now we live in Arizona. So we've been here about 2.5 years, and we love it. Just had to go from one extreme weather pattern to the other. And I started my business, Phaser Marketing. This would have been in 2019. And I started it on the side. I knew I wanted to start a business. And I think similar to you, I knew deep down, I wanted to be a business owner. I didn't know exactly what that was yet. So I didn't come from this marketing background where I was super smart with it. But in college, I got like a minor in marketing. And so I thought, well, I really enjoy this stuff. I really enjoy making businesses work. I enjoyed flipping dirt bikes and dune buggies and like making a profit on them. And so I saw this avenue with digital marketing, because I'm 28 years old. So I kind of always grew up with a phone and understand a bit of the social media landscape and websites and SEO. And so I thought, well, instead of going phone books and billboards, I'm going to start a digital marketing agency. So, but I'm also, when I started that, I had a full-time job as a marketing director at an orthodontic practice. So I got to help figure out how to bring in new patients and new leads. But then it was such a small office that I found myself actually doing all the x-rays and doing a lot of the exams and treatment planning with the doctor. So it was a wonderful experience in a small business, getting to see the ins and outs of business, revenue, how to bring in clients, how to retain clients, just in a different industry. And what really triggered my love for starting a marketing agency is the doctor had hired a marketing agency out of California and had been working with them since 2018. And I just remember thinking, okay, we were paying this agency a ton of money a month. We loved these people that worked in there. Like, they were so personable, fun. They made us feel good. And then the third thing, they made me look great at my job. Like, they were crushing it for us. Like, leads were coming in. We had a vision of this year and next year and in 5 years. And I was like, man, I kind of want to start one of those. Like, that would be so much fun. And so I did. I started one, and we started with digital marketing for small businesses. But then, as we were talking about earlier, I joined a coaching group, and they said, Luke, if you want to scale and have impact, you need to niche down. And more importantly, if you want to have impact on an industry, you need to niche down and serve that industry. And to me, at that point, it was very simple. It was very easy, because we had been working with probably about 3 or 4 excavation and demolition companies at the time. And some of them were my good friends. And I just became obsessed with the industry. I said, yep, this is easy. We're going to turn away all other business from here on out. And we're only going to work with excavation companies. And that was in 2021. We kind of made that official decision. I went full time, and it's been a blessing since. And March 1st of 2024 here, we've got about 56 excavation companies working with us full time around the US and Canada. And it's such a blessing to see when you invest in an industry and you put forth your best foot, what they will do for you, and what we're going to continue to do together.
That's incredible. So how did you go get your first, how did you get those first 4 excavation clients? Actually, let's take it back, because you weren't specializing in any sort of one industry in the beginning. How did you go get your first client?
Yeah, I love that question, because they're 2 totally different questions. So our first client was a real estate agency out of Detroit Lakes, which is my hometown in Minnesota. And I'd say with that, it was, and this is, I guess, a piece of advice for anyone listening that wants to start a business or has a hobby that maybe they want to start turning it into a side business. You just have to be confident in telling people what you do, and not being scared of saying, like, yeah, what I do is I do digital marketing for small businesses. Even if you have 0 clients or 0 revenue, you just have to have the confidence to say that. Because if you think about it, you probably know a lot more than they do about digital marketing. And it's not like you're trying to overstep them or anything. It's just the facts. So being confident and saying, okay, I started this business, Phaser Marketing. This is what we do. We work with small businesses. And I launched that on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. And I think at the time, now that I think about it, I think we gave away a TV, and we sold hats. We didn't have this style, but we sold hats, and we had our PM logo on it. And I think we said, like and share this post and win a TV. And so I think I would do anything just to create some buzz and excitement around the business. And that kind of generated some interest from one of my really good family friends who owned this real estate agency in my hometown. And he said, Luke, we do $95 million a year, which obviously real estate, it's a bit different, and we have nobody handling our website. We have nobody on our social media. We have nobody doing anything. I mean, this is all just word of mouth, which is great, but let's see if you can help us out. So we said, yep. And I think at that time it was, I wanted to group together my services. And so I said it was $800 a month. You'll get website, SEO, paid ads, like all this stuff. And it went well. It went well. But as most people know, when you have your first client, you're learning more than anything. And so I learned so much from them, what to do, what not to do, how to operate my business. And remember too, this is all during my lunch breaks, at night, and in the mornings, and on weekends. So, because I had a full-time job. But my second client then was a really good friend of mine who reached out, obviously saw we had gone live with the business, and he owned a demolition and excavation company, which a lot of people on here listening probably have heard of. It's Black Iron Dirt, and his name's Luke Payne. So he's the other Luke. And he's been my longest standing client, very, very good friend, went to high school with him. We used to decorate Christmas cookies together with our parents and stuff. And yeah, we just became really great friends. But then after college and now in this season, we became really business partners. And then fast forward a couple of years, we started the Dirtbags podcast together. And so we still do that. That's rocking and rolling. And we still work with Black Iron Dirt, but now we also work with a second company, which is Western Excavation. And they've really taken off and started to explode kind of in that Western North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming. And, but it's been awesome. But just going through those first few clients, I mean, even now, like we have obviously a much better rhythm and who we want to work with, but man, you learn a lot in those first few, and it's exciting, but it can be tough as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm very interested to hear, because we specialize in land clearing and specifically fire mitigation work. So it's like this blend between, like, I think the best way to describe it is it's a blend between being a logger and a tree service. So there's like this weird, unique niche in land clearing for fire mitigation. And when I started my company, I didn't really know the exact direction I was going to go. I just knew that I could operate a skid steer. I liked operating a skid steer. I could operate a mini excavator. And I felt like there were a lot of small projects up here that these big excavators didn't want to take on. So in the beginning, I didn't really know if I was going to be like forestry, fire mitigation, tree service, land clearing, excavation. So excavation was something I did consider in the beginning. I've decided not to move that route with my business, but I'm always interested. So I am interested to hear you working in the excavation industry. So like your business partner, Luke, you mentioned he has two companies. Western came second after Black Iron.
Yep. And Black Iron has since dissolved into Western, and that was new as of January 2024.
Okay. Can we break that down? What, like, there had to be some sort of marketing strategy there. I love the name, by the way.
Yeah. So, and to give Luke all the credit, other Luke, so him and his business partner in Western, Cole, and let me back up a little bit. So 2022, I believe it was, they saw an opportunity in Bismarck, North Dakota. So Black Iron is Fargo, North Dakota. Luke got a call from Cole, who lives out in Bismarck. He said, Luke, they didn't really know each other, but they knew each other through socials. They respected each other's work, things like that. And he said, Luke, I think there's an opportunity here in Bismarck. There's only a couple excavation companies, and some work might be falling through. And I think there's a great opportunity. Is that something you'd ever consider? We could start a company out here. We could, co-own it, and we'll kind of figure it out from there. And Luke was all on board there. They came up with the name Western Excavation, and then we built their website. But a lot of it too is just some of the simple things of just calling people, answering the phone, which I know you talk about a lot, which blows my mind how some people don't start there. But really just showing them that, like, okay, we have young go-getters that are going to get the job done. And they also have newer equipment, GPS. They were trying to build trust and get into the good old boys club a little bit, but also that good old boys club was kind of falling apart because the stuff wasn't getting done. So they saw an opportunity. They started that business, and it grew, and this is all public, but it grew. And if anyone's listening to and wants to follow along with Luke Payne's journey with this, follow him on LinkedIn. He's amazing on there. But I believe he said in the 1 year they grew 2,500% in revenue. I think they went from 500 to 12.5 million in about a year or so. And so they've just been on this rocket ship. And to be clear, that isn't from digital marketing. So we work with them. We've always worked with them. But we actually didn't run any ads during that time either. And so the commercial excavation space is a little different, and a lot of our clients are in that space. And so we're more problem solvers for them than anything. And we don't always just harp on the leads. And when the leads come in, they're great because they're $1.5 million or $500,000 leads or $5 million lead. It's like, yeah, I mean, that'll pay for us for the next 10 years. Great. But
For sure.
so more of what our company does is focus on your online presence. Like, does your website accurately represent your company's history, the work you do? Is it updated? And then also your searchability. If somebody wanted to, could they find you on Google? Just very simple, very basic. And in the excavation, septic, and landscaping world, it's like the competition level online sometimes isn't that great. And so it's the like I mentioned, the marketing basics that we do and we do over a long period of time, we've seen that can skyrocket some of these companies to the top and really hold a great market share there. So, but yeah, Luke and Cole, they've been incredible to work with. They've been on a rocket ship, and then starting the dirt bags in early 2022. That's really helped us give a lot of insight into his business, into my business, and into so many others in the industry. And I think that's what we try and do, similar to your podcast, is just give resources, try and help anyone that does want to listen, and just being very open and honest with them and transparent, and being willing to dive into some of the nitty gritty stuff that other podcasts or other people don't want to.
Well, it's funny because like some people are like, why are you so open with, talking about building a business? Why? And I'm sure you guys get the same questions. I mean, he grew from 500K to 12.5 million in a year. It's like, that's awesome. But two, there are opportunities like that exist all over the country. And there is plenty of opportunities out there to be had by so many different people. And so it's like, I can already tell you have this abundance mindset. Luke has this abundance mindset. I've got an abundance mindset. So as long as we can get on here and riff and talk and share some resources, my hope is that people listen to this podcast and they go, holy crap, I know how to run an excavator. Maybe I'm on the East Coast somewhere. It's like, why wouldn't I start my own business? That's what I want people to do. It's like the first thing I said whenever I started this podcast was like, I want this to be one of the last podcasts people ever listen to before they actually start taking action. Because we live in this world of like content consumption and not action takers. Right. So
it's super interesting too, because I just heard you say that, and I loved it on one of your previous episodes of just like, I want this to be the last episode you hear before you start your business, because there's so much content you can consume, but yet at some point you have to apply it. Right. And I think that's so important. And from my point of view is there are ways you can do it that are less risky than others. Like some people, they're just like, all right, Austin and Luke said, go jump in, and they're going to take out $500,000 in debt and then not have any work lined up. It's like, well, that's not exactly what we meant, but there's definitely ways to do it where you can rent, or in my case, you can start a marketing agency for an industry that you love and have no debt. And there's ways you can not pay yourself until you hit a certain threshold and then leave your job, then start paying yourself. But that all comes from not just taking the first thing you hear and going for it, but like filtering out information, looking at your situation is probably different than a 22-year-old starting a business. And let's say you have 5 kids and a wife that stays home, like should probably take that into account as well, making sure there's food on the table. But no, I love that. I love seeing when people take that step and go run their own business. It's one of the most rewarding things that I've been a part of and I've gotten to do. And I just, I thank God every day for that opportunity just to be a steward of these resources and say like, yeah, let's go have fun with it. And we talked about that on a podcast. I think it's worth bringing up, but a lot of people talk about the hardships and the difficulties in running a business and all the negatives of being self-employed. And, a lot of people kind of joke about it too, but I don't know. I kind of look at the opposite and say, yeah, I mean, we probably work a lot, but it, I would never go back. And I love it so much. And the ability to have your own clients and to have potentially build your own team and give them a career that they don't hate, and just to be fruitful with the gifts. It fires me up. And then to have business calls and podcasts and things like this, seeing other people do it a certain way and not complain about it or not be negative about it, it gets me fired up. So I love when people talk about the positives, especially when it comes to running a business, because it can show somebody that it does want to start. Hey, it's not all doom and gloom like you might see online. There are a ton of positives to starting your own business and doing it the right way.
Absolutely. There's so many positives. And just like you, I get fired up by these conversations. It's fun to be around other people who just have this mindset of like, there are opportunities everywhere. So one thing I did want to touch on, you mentioned this earlier, in the excavation world, and I've seen this in tree service, I've seen this in, like land clearing. The competition bar online is set low in a lot of these places. Now, like you go into a place like Denver, or you go to somewhere like Chicago or New York, or whatever, like there are going to be people who are already doing this and who are already have Google reviews and whatnot. But you go to some of these like secondary and tertiary markets and you pick a specific service like excavation and you can type it in on Google, and sometimes you'll see people pop up and it's like, oh, they have like 2 Google reviews and they don't have any posts online. So we are moving into this age of your customers are going to be searching online for the services, whether you're there or not. So the way I view it is, if you're starting a business right now and you're in your 20s or 30s or even 40s, like one of the first things, like if you're going all in on this business, is to like set up an online presence. And so it sounds like you guys have seen some of those opportunities in the excavation industry, huh?
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head there. And I think our business model reflects that, because I don't think you'll ever hear me say, oh, we are the #1 design agency in the world, or we are the best web developers out there. Like, we build great marketing habits and the marketing basics very, very well for a specific industry, which is the excavation space. And our costs also reflect that. Like, we're definitely not the lowest bidder. Typically it's about on average $1,500 to $1,895 a month or so, but it's built to be that long-term team that gets you what you need, but you're not overpaying for it, if that makes sense. You're getting the website, you're getting the SEO, you're getting the strategy and consulting, you're also getting the graphic design team, but you're not paying $10K a month when you're only doing $600K in revenue, because that wouldn't make any sense. And so because we only work in that one industry, and we know, yeah, you don't need this right now, wait till you get to about 1.5, then we'll upgrade you to phase 2. That knowledge of the industry has really helped us price ourselves as well, and also price in the value that they need at the current stage that they're at. Because we have some clients that'll be doing 5 million in revenue and they don't even have like a website, or they have a Wix website that the owner built in 2019. And it's like, well, we're going to start there. We're going to start you in phase 1 before we start pounding on the ad spend and all this stuff. You got to start with a solid foundation. So it's just, the opportunity is amazing. But also for them, what we've seen is our clients get so excited when they see their brand come alive online, and they start seeing, yeah, this person found me on Google. They typed in septic tank installation near me and they found me. I'm like, that's how this works. I love it. And it fires me up when I'll use an example. So we have a client, his name's Dave Newby, and he has run his excavation company for about 14 years, I believe. And he went to the Dirt World Summit in Houston, and we saw each other there. And anyway, he reached out to me and he's like, Luke, I want to hire you guys and work with you. And so we got some more details and things, and he didn't have a website, didn't really even have a logo. So we developed all that, developed his logo, and he's just all involved in the process. He's like, oh, I love this one. Can we change this? and his team is now getting involved in it. So we finalized the logo, and obviously we used that branding package for his website. Just launched his website, and it's just amazing to see his team rally around it too and get excited. And the day the logo was done, he ordered hats, shirts, sweatshirts, like everything just branded up. And seeing that excitement for a guy that's been in the industry for as long as he has really gets me fired up too, to just continue doing what we do and serving the industry. And the way I like to put it too is our business we're not doing this stuff for us necessarily. Like when you think about when we bring on a new client, like none of it is really for us besides like the revenue bump. But like the website, the logo, the ads, this is all for the industry, all for our client. And so if ever a client like doesn't want to work with us or doesn't feel that the investment is right, it's like, that is no problem. Like we can still be friends, we can still hang out. But when they do want to take that next step, when they do see the positive interactions and they do see how this could help their business, it's like, let's do this thing. And so I love using that story because there are people out there, and so many of them, that do get excited about this and do want to elevate their brand and their business. And at the end of the day, they want to build something special that they could hand off to their kids or grandkids, and let it be a legacy and a blessing, and not just a curse and a bunch of sticky notes and stuff that's stuck in their head.
It's so true. And the one thing you mentioned there, like the excitement from getting your first online lead, that high or that rush is the coolest thing in the world. Like whenever somebody fills out the form on your website and it comes to your email, like we've got automation set up. So it's like I get texted our lead information. We get Slack notifications with our team, everything. But like whenever you get that first one and it comes to your email, it's like, holy crap. I mean, we help some people in the industry build land clearing websites too. It's just kind of like lent itself, like what we're doing with Bear Claw has lent itself to that, other people asking. And one guy texted me over the weekend. He's like, hey dude, do you have a couple minutes to talk? I was like, yeah. So we jumped on. He's like, I just got a 25-acre land clearing lead. Holy crap, like it was the first one that came in after we built the website.
Yeah.
And I just remember that moment whenever it happened in our business, and I could see it and hear it in his voice, like, holy crap, this can work.
Yeah.
And these are some big contracts that people are actually searching online for. And then I think once that thing clicks, it's like, dude, how do I pump more money straight into this so we get more of that, right?
Dude, and Austin, like you mentioned there too, it's just well, the industry that we live in and that we serve is just, they're not $50 lawn mowing leads. I mean, these are big contracts, and I'm like, it doesn't take more than a couple of these to overpay for everything you've done for the year when it comes to marketing. And so when you're building sites and you know how the search engines work, you're like, you can take a look at the monthly search volume and then see the competition or the keyword difficulty, and you're like, you guys, it is right here. Like we can go get this. Normally it would take sometimes 6, 12, 18 months if it's very difficult, but I think we can do it quicker than that. And then like hold that. And it blows my mind. It's super exciting. I feel like I could nerd out about this all day. And I'm not even an SEO by trade or an ad specialist by trade, but I've just been surrounded by it for so long. And it doesn't take much in this industry to go a long ways online. And I think that's what gets me so excited, is that we don't have to do this blue sky, like, yep, you need to pay me 180,000 and we might get there. It's pretty low investment considering the opportunity that's out there long term, especially.
I mean, when you're talking like you're talking like 1,500 to $2,000 is what I heard you mention, or 1,895. Like if you're talking about that, like, top end, you're like 25K a year. One job in excavation or land clearing can literally cover everything in that. And especially when you break that out on a monthly cost, it's like $2,000 here, $2,000 there. And then all of a sudden a $25,000 job comes in, then a $30,000 job comes in. And once that starts to click, it's like, holy crap, let's just keep pumping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Luke, here's my $2,000, please.
Yeah,
Right.
right. Yeah, it goes back to that example of me working with that other agency. Is like we were happy to pay them because they weren't an expense, they were an investment. They were a line item in our business, and we were looking long term. We're saying, yep. So like in that example for me, it's like our salary is 18K a year, and you get a team of 10 that only work in this industry that know exactly what to do. You don't even have to train us. And it's like, huh, maybe there is something to that. And you don't even have to pay our taxes. That's the great part, is we pay our own taxes. And so whether they're working with us or somebody like you or somebody like Ryan or so many other of these great quality agencies that serve the excavation space, I will say this, maybe that's one part to clarify, is if you're looking for somebody to work with as far as a marketing agency, think past what their promise is and think about who do you want to work with long term. And a lot of times these giant agencies that it's like $200 a month, that to me would be a red flag if it's so cheap. But yeah, just think about like, okay, well, as the economy shifts, as search trends change, as maybe I have a tough month here, tough month there, like who do I want to work with long term? And that, in my opinion, is who you should look at. And there's tons of great options out there. But if it were me, I would look for somebody industry specific that knows your industry, so that you don't have to train them the difference between an excavator and a dozer as they're updating your website. And it's just going to typically be a bit more work for you.
Absolutely. It 100% is. So let's talk excavation marketing. You have Phaser marketing,
Yeah.
and I'm taking a wild guess that Phaser came from the different phases that you take people through. Is that correct?
Dude, so 99% yes. So it developed into that. So let me so the story of how the hardest thing I've ever done in business was come up with the name. To this day, that is the hardest thing I've ever done. And so we were living in Nebraska at the time. We had a bottle of wine, my wife and I, and we said, all right, we know we want to start an agency. We just got to come up with the name. And we had probably 200 ideas, and this is before Chat GPT. And so we had like 200 ideas, and they were awful. Like we were just cramming words together and like trying to do like different languages and something marketing. And I'm like, man, this is not going well. And then finally we would get one. I'm like, I kind of like that. Like the one was develop marketing, I think, which now I don't even really like it, but I was like, that's it. And then we look and it was already taken. So it was just this whole mess. And so we actually stopped. We finished the bottle of wine. We're like, all right, we got to take a break. And so 2 weeks later, I was looking up, how do you find a good name for your business? And one piece of advice I saw was, if you can think about what you want to offer in your business or what your company embodies, that would be great to somehow add into your name. And so I took a step back and I said, okay, why are we starting this? And really the way I looked at it was, when you think of a company or a business owner, especially in excavation, when they think about digital marketing, there's 1,000 of these ping pong balls up here that need to happen for it to work. So there's website, SEO, content, paid ads, Google LSA ads, graphic design. There's all these things going. But what this business owner needs to see is just 3 simple phases, and they can understand that. So all these ping pong balls will go like, okay, phase 1, that's set your foundation. Phase 2, that's grow your brand. Phase 3 will dominate your market. And so that's really how it started. And then I just tossed an R on there. So Phaser, and it was available. I was like, sweet. And I fell in love with it. And then a couple years ago, so this would have been probably early 2022, we used that to develop our program. So we used to do just packages where we'd build a website or we'd build you a logo and bill you for it. And then I realized that that's not the business we wanted to be in. We wanted to be in long-term partnerships with our clients. We wanted to be a digital marketing department. So I said, we have to change our vocabulary. There's no longer packages in our business. It's only programs, because the great thing about programs is we do what we say we're going to do, you do what we say you're going to do, and like the program works. But at any point there can be a leak. Let's say we're missing our deadlines, that's on us. Or the client isn't going out getting Google reviews, that's on them. And so it's very easy to follow the program. Or another analogy is stay on the bus. No matter what, we're driving the bus and it's going to a destination. If you want to get off the bus and do something else, that's fine, but you're not going to hit the destination where we're going. And so we really use that to create those phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 programs that are tailored to where you're at in revenue. So phase 1 is tailored for 6-figure excavation companies and up. Phase 2 is 7 figures, and phase 3 is kind of more of a custom 8-figure client. So it really helped us when we developed that name based on like more of our core values and what we want to deliver, but then develop our pricing structure in that, keep it very simple, very cut and dry. Just this is what it is. It's the marketing basics. This is what you need. If you want to take the ride with us, jump on.
You mentioned something there, and thank you for explaining all of that. That makes a ton of sense. So phase 1 is 6-figure for a 6-figure company in revenue, right? Phase 2 is 7-figure in revenue, and then phase 3, 8-figure revenue. So have you found that it only makes sense to work with companies who have already figured out how to get to that first 100K of revenue, like on their own, just like through being scrappy and picking up the phone and calling and going and getting jobs in their local market?
Yep. So that's a great question. So there's actually, I like to call it like a phase 0, and that would be 0 to 500K in revenue. That's the bootstrapping stage. So you don't need an agency at that level. If you're doing 400K in revenue or 300K, you do not need an agency, and you shouldn't be paying for an agency. There are, and we have recommendations. So if anyone is listening and they're like, well, how do I get a website up? I have lots of great friends that'll build a great website and they know what they're doing, but they won't have the ongoing cost. So yes, getting your foundation set, getting a good website, that's very important. But like you mentioned, you need to go to the basics of learning how to answer the phone, setting up your own Facebook page, setting up, learning how your website works, and just really diving into the nitty gritty of it. Because when you do get to that point of, let's say 600K in revenue, 700K, then you're kind of ready for that next step. It's like, okay, I'm going to now hire an agency to help me with this, but I actually understand what they're doing now because I've been doing a bit of it. So, and then to also add on to your point, we vet our clients very heavily. If a client comes to me and says, Luke, we need you to save my business, or we're falling like crazy, and yeah, I'm gonna pay you a bunch of money and you're gonna save my company. That's not how it's gonna work. And I need to make sure that they're in the right headspace and they're in the right mindset, that financially they're also going to be okay to make this work long term. And also they have the right attitude towards business and towards life and how they treat their clients and how they treat their team members. If we sense that they're going to be a problem to their own clients and their own employees, they're not going to be a good fit for us, just because it's not who we want to work with. It's not who we want to surround ourselves with. And I would rather turn down 5 of those potential clients to bring on the one that is on fire for this stuff, that wants to make an impact, that wants to serve their community. I'm like, you are the one we want to work with. And so instead of having 150 clients or 200 clients right now, we have 55, but we are very, very confident in those 55, and they are some of the best out there. They range from 500K in revenue to 40 million and everything in between, but I would give them the shirt off my back and I would stand up for them, and almost all of them would do the same for me and our team. So having that camaraderie and that like-mindedness in business and in life is definitely what we look for. But it all starts from that bootstrapping stage of going through the stages of, okay, we need to figure this out on our own first. We can ask questions. We can text Austin. We can text Luke. We'll ask questions from others in the industry, but we got to take care of this ourselves. And then as we scale up and we're ready to take that next step, then we can make that call.
So let's talk about that 0 to 500K mark. So let's say, and I think this is completely different for someone who is like almost more like an investor type who's coming in and like, hey, I've got cash. I'm going to start this excavation business.
Yeah.
Let's
Right.
ramp this up. Let's rock and roll. Let's go to 12.5 this year.
This isn't for that person.
This question is specifically for, hey, I'm an operator at another excavation company. I know I want to do my own thing. I've got this entrepreneurial itch. The bug has never gone away. It's been here for the last 6 years, and I'm about to go crazy if I don't go start my own thing. What are some recommendations to get to the point to where you would take them on in like your phase 1? Specifically, what are the phase 0 recommendations you would coach people on who are starting their excavation business?
Yeah. So with that one, and I'll just take this from if you're in that 0 to 500K or you're just starting, these are the main foundational things that you can do today. And a lot of them are free, but here's the main things you can do. First of all, the name and the logo. I mean, that should be easy, but a lot of people skid by that. Get a good name, a good logo. If you're looking for somebody to design your logo and you don't want to go with the local place, there's a couple websites out there where you can outsource it. So upwork.com, upwork.com, even Fiverr. We had our logo made on Fiverr and it was like $35 4 years ago. So there are options out there. So get a good logo and a good name built out. Next thing would be create social media channels for your business. And so this is even if you're not full-time yet, even if you haven't started the business, just get them created because now you have a name and a logo to go in that little bubble. So Facebook business page, Instagram company page, LinkedIn company page, and then most importantly, make sure you get a Google business profile set up. And those are the big 4, I like to call them, when it comes to social media. Most of them are overlooked, but here's the differences between them and why you should use all 4. And when I say use all 4, just cross post the same post to each one. You don't have to get fancy. You don't have to overthink it. Even myself, I own a marketing agency. I don't even change my content between the 4, and they all serve a different purpose. So Facebook, the reason that's important, typically you'll find your residential customers, your family, friends, your community will be on there. Don't sleep on it. I wouldn't scroll on it too much because you'll find a lot of stuff you don't want to see. But if you're going to post on your company page, make sure it goes on Facebook. Your Instagram company page, that's very important as well. There is a dirt world cult going on where there are so many entrepreneurs on there that are from all sizes. And what we've seen is that if you're on Instagram and you have an issue come up, let's say you're putting in a septic tank and something went wrong, you could throw that up on your story and you'll have people from all over the country, all over the world jump in and help you out. And that's the community that's been built on Instagram. The third, LinkedIn. This is by far my favorite. Having a LinkedIn company page, you need a personal page to create that. So having both. But the LinkedIn company page, this is typically where your CEOs, your project managers, your presidents, things like that, they'll be hanging out. And a lot of times it can just be, hey, Luke, I've been seeing your posts. Love what you guys are doing. I want to invite you to be on my bid list. And, we've got a big project coming up north. Is that something you'd be interested in helping us out? It's like, yeah. And a lot of times those big deals, those big contracts can come just from a quick DM from a president or a CEO of these GCs or construction companies. And then lastly, your Google business profile. A lot of people miss this part, but that's where your Google reviews are and your information and your call button and your website button. But there's a social media element to it as well. And so they're called updates. And so whatever you post on your Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, post the same post on your Google business profile because the search engine now will start to pick up on these keywords and they will start to pull from, if you're talking about a new install you just had with a septic tank and you're talking about how many yards of dirt you brought in, what type of system you're using, Google will start to pick up on those keywords. So when you look back, that one post that you developed and you put it across all 4 platforms, you're hitting 4 totally different markets. And that's why I don't like to segment myself to one market, because you never know when somebody will come and help you out, even if it's not who you expected. So definitely, when you look back at those 3 things I just talked about, the getting your social media profiles going, your Google business profile, and your logo and name, there's not much cost at all to those, but those are huge steps to get your business started and to get it going. But then to get in that consistency to now climb the ladder past 500K.
Man, that is awesome. You just gave like the marketing masterclass for starting your business, like the zero, no cost way to just get in front of some people. Now, the other side of that is you've got to have some content to work with.
Yep.
So there is a side of this where you got to figure out a way to go get your first job.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and we don't have to spend a ton of time on this. I talk about it in other episodes, but look, if you need content, just go get your first job, and you can do this by door knocking. Like you can just go down neighborhoods, knock on doors. Hey, you need any help with land services around your property, right? And once you get that, then you have the content to work with to publish across those channels. Do you have any other that's sort of like my recommendations. I also do flyers, door hangers, things like that. We're literally implementing this in Bear Claw right now because we launched a new service location. So I'm like drinking my own Kool-Aid right now in my day-to-day. I'm literally 5 minutes going to get on the road to Denver and going to go do this exact same thing. But you are the guest here. What other recommendations do you have for getting those first jobs, or what have you seen work well for some of your other clients?
Yeah. First of all, like you mentioned, with that very, very first client, if you or I have to tell somebody how to go get that first one, they're in the wrong business, because it's out there. They can go get it. They just got to be 1% scrappy and go make it happen. My favorite thing though, is when you do get that client, over deliver for them, get your content, get your photos, shake their hand, and get a Google review, but then don't let it die there. Continue to repurpose that, continue to show others their experience that they had working with you. And that goes with, showcasing the before and after pictures, showcasing the problem that this customer had. And one of my favorite things that I like to tell people of this kind of gets 2 birds is the content side of things in the social media, but also how to get more clients, is let them see into your business of what you're doing and why. So a lot of people don't understand why you're offering this service, but if you nerd out on your posts of what you're doing, how many yards of dirt you brought in, how many guys you had on, how long you were on site, why the customer called you, and then how you patched it up and all things are good now, that will give these other clients or potential clients an inside look at, oh man, I'm having that same issue, or, oh, I can see this potential in my space as well. So nerd out on your social media. Don't try and please anyone. Talk about what you did and why, and be yourself. Be the expert in the conversation, be the expert in the industry. And just, you'd be surprised at how many people don't know what you do and why, and what they can learn from your posts. So go out, make it happen, get yard signs, get business cards made, join the chamber. Like, there are so many things you can do. Tell people what you do. Like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, be confident in what you do. Tell people how you can help them and serve them. Jump on the phone with bigger construction companies, GCs, even your competitors, and say, hey, if you have any work that you don't want to do, that you think is piddly stuff, let me know. I'm here to help. I'm here to serve you. We're just getting rolling. Let me know. Here's my hourly rate, or you let me know what works with you. There is so much out there that you don't even realize, but you have to pick up the phone and make the call and let people know that you're available, because they're probably not going to call you. And I think that's just your ego and a little bit of humility of just knowing, hey, I'm gonna have to pick up the phone, make it happen, and let people know I'm available and I'm ready to work.
Dude, you nailed it on that. And one thing we haven't touched on was like, they're essentially your competitors. It's like same people in your industry, but
yeah,
a lot of these companies, especially baby boomer owned companies who are like old, established, They're tired. They're not taking off. Their phone. I've been around these guys. Their phone rings all day long, and they turn down jobs left and right. Like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to do that driveway. We're doing a $25 million horizontal, like septic, or excuse me, like sewer and water install, right? Like, they're not taking on the driveway. So if you can call that guy and say, hey, my name's Austin. I literally just bought a skid steer, or, I'm renting a skid steer. I'm doing some dirt work on the side. I'd love to be a sub on any of your jobs. Like, if you've got stuff that I can supplement you with, you can even make money off the top. We'll come to an hourly rate for my operator and my equipment. And then you can just charge the client, a 10, 15, 20% markup. So it's like, if you approach these other subcontractors like that, they're all looking for good help. They all have more work than they know what to do with. And if you can just position yourself as, hey, I'm adding value to you, and you can make money off of me if you want to your customer. I can't tell you how many people have like called us 18 months in, and those early phone calls, you may not get stuff right away, but once people start knowing that you're in the game, it's like it comes back to 6, 12, 18 months in, and all of a sudden these jobs just start flowing in, specifically even from your competitors. So thank you for touching on that, because that is gold right there.
Yeah, it's huge, man. And a lot of it is non-digital marketing activities. If you notice, especially when you're starting out, it goes hand in hand, but a lot of it is the grind of just making it happen. And as you've seen too, and as so many others, it's out there. You can make it happen. You just gotta pick up the phone, call, get a little creative, but it's out there for sure.
Well, Luke, we're at the hour mark. I would be willing to guess we could go till about noon.
Yeah.
On different topics. So I'm going to say, I'm sure you have plenty of meetings to get to, so I'm going to be respectful of your time. Let's wrap this one up. Let's do version 2. Let's bring Luke on. Let's do version 3. Let's do version 4. I think we can do, I love what you guys are doing. I was listening to some of your episodes last night on the drive back from Denver, and I'm going to throw some on my drive down to Denver today.
Awesome.
But what episode would you recommend me listening to on my drive down today?
Oh, if you haven't yet, I'm actually wearing his shirt. So the Canadian Septic episode, it's with James Stixma. We actually talk about buying a business. So he bought a septic company up in Canada, and he came in from like sales. Like, he was just a corporate guy, came in from sales. He wanted to buy a business, but he's a good friend of ours. And it was fascinating talking with him of, how did you know you'd buy a septic company? And he loves numbers, and he looks at all that, and he looks at opportunities. So listening to that one would be a good one. And then if you end up jumping on YouTube, we just launched a bit of a higher quality YouTube episode. We did a live show in Michigan, and it's the MSTA conference. So that would be a good one if you're jumping on YouTube. But definitely listen to James's with Canadian Septic on your drive. And then if you get in front of the big screen or the movie theater, we can do the MSTA one.
All right. So that's the first one I'll listen to on my drive down. What should I listen to on my drive back up? Number 2, episode wise.
Number 2, I would go with, so have you looked into our Dirtbags University yet?
I was listening to that one yesterday.
Okay, cool. So then I would go back a little bit. I would have you listened to the Ken White one, or the Taylor White?
No, I haven't yet, but I've seen them on YouTube.
Yeah, so I would listen to that one. So it's a bit of a more classic one, a bit older, but it's our highest episode by far as downloads. And that's always an entertaining one, is having Taylor on. So I would definitely listen to that one. And we need to revisit that as well, because his business has changed so much. But that's definitely an entertaining one to listen on the way back.
Are they one of your clients?
Not one of ours, but we've known Taylor for a long time. So and we met up with him at Con Expo, and we do a lot with him. We were on the Con Expo podcast with him, and with him as the host. And so we definitely do a lot with them.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Well, thank you for those recommendations. The other excavation one we have on, I don't know if you've checked it out, but Garrett Williams up in Big Lakes, Minnesota.
Yep.
That dude is awesome. I love watching his stuff. He reminds me, you guys remind me a lot of each other because you got the same accent and you've got like a very, very similar outlook on life. And it's just like this
Sure.
positive energy that both of you guys have about your business. So
Thank you.
check that one out if you haven't, because yeah, Garrett's awesome.
Yeah, Garrett's a dog. We had him on the Dirtbags as well early on. We talked finances and numbers. But yeah, he's amazing. Him and I stay in touch here, and he's fascinating just with what he's been able to accomplish, him and his sister and their whole company there. And like you said, just the outlook they have on life and their business. That's more of what I'm drawn to. And it's no secret that they're having success from that and from the hard work that they continue to put in.
For sure. And like top of their list is just like taking care of their people. You can just tell. And they don't even have to tell 100%. You that. Right.
Yeah.
You can just see it.
They attract the right customers because of how they do that. And yeah, so if anyone doesn't follow them, I believe it's GM Outdoors on Instagram or Garrett Williams, but they're incredible to follow along with and get advice from. And they're just doing business the right way.
100%. They're like the model of what, I mean, I don't know, if I was going to go into excavation, like I would just want to build it just like Garrett has. Yeah.
Right. I love it.
Luke, thank you so much for being on. I see many more of these in the future.
Austin, I appreciate it, man. This is a great way to start my morning. Thank you for the opportunity and having me on. And we're just so excited to look at having you on to the Dirtbags and just continue this relationship and, keep the ball rolling here.
Sounds good. Where can people find you, your company, your podcast, all that stuff online?
Yep. So our website, phasermarketing.com. That's where you can find everything. You can also find us on all social media. So that would be Phaser Marketing, my personal account, Luke Eggebraaten, or Dirtbags, which is official Dirtbags podcast. You can listen to the show on all platforms. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and then YouTube. That's just Dirtbags podcast. And you can also shoot me a message anytime. So I manage all of those accounts. You can shoot me a DM. If you ever have any questions or anyone wants to reach out or jump on a call, just let me know, jump on social media, and we'll get something set up from there.
That is awesome. Well, make sure to go give Luke's websites, companies, all that stuff a view, and then go check out the Dirtbags podcast. So I'll do a plug right now for the Owner Operator podcast and Dirtbags podcast. If you go listen to either of these, well, if you're listening to this right now and you like these episodes, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, we would love it if you would like, follow, and then just like service businesses, 5-star reviews are super important. So would you take 30 seconds right now, if you're enjoying these episodes, leave us a 5-star review. We would love you forever for it. Likewise, I'll do a plug for the Dirtbags podcast. After you listen to this one, go check out those episodes that Luke mentioned. And then would you mind to just do the same? Like the 5-star reviews greatly help us. Once again, just like building a service business, podcasts, 5-star reviews are super important as well. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Without further ado, we'll wrap this one up. See you, Luke.